When I'm baking with chocolate, I like to mix the types of chocolate. So this is semi-sweet, and then I'm gonna also use this dark chocolate that gives it a little more depth of flavor in your baked goods. Almost melted. You don't want to get it all the way melted before you stop cooking it, because it'll continue on its own. So I'm going to put this in for probably another 30 seconds, and then it'll be good. Hot water here. That gives it the silky smooth texture. Make sure you get every bit of the inside of your pan. If you're using a bundt pan, then particularly get it all sprayed or oiled. You can use regular oil and just roll it around. I find the spray a lot easier. But the last thing is the vanilla extract. Alright, there we go. Nice thing about this batter is that it's really thin, so it's easy. It'll even itself out. You don't have to. Okay, first thing I'm going to do is chop my pecans so they are ready. This hand chopper has measurements on it, so if I fill it up, it'll be about a cup, which is what this icing recipe calls for. Shove them all in there. And these are pieces, so they're not, won't need a ton of chopping, but it's better in this icing to have it more finely chopped. Got the butter here. I'm going to melt it in the microwave. You can make this recipe on the stove. In fact, I think that's what the original calls for, since it's an old recipe, I'm sure. But it's easier just to melt it in the microwave. Got my butter in the microwave. It was frozen, so it's gonna need a little bit more time. All right, most of the butter's almost completely melted. I'm gonna just let it sit and finish, because if I put it back in the microwave, it might burn, but it'll finish melting in a minute or so. All right, to the milk we add melted butter. We add 1/3 cup of cocoa, 1/2 cup milk. I'm gonna use oat milk here. I have some dairy problems in this house, so it's really not advised to pour out your ingredients over what you're mixing. You always pour it over something else. So do as I say, not as I do. And I'm adding the powdered sugar last, because that's going to thicken it up and it won't mix quite as easily. Okay, 1 teaspoon of vanilla. Got the cocoa all mixed in. So now I'm going to start adding the powdered sugar. All right, this is going to require some fast mixing. I may even get out my whisk. It gets bad. Once I get this all mixed, I will add the pecans. All right, I've got all the powdered sugar incorporated into the mixture, but it's kind of lumpy, as you can see. So I think I'm gonna try to whisk to get those lumps out. Oh yeah, that is working well. It would work even better if I got out the hand mixer, but I don't feel like cleaning that up today, so I'm just gonna stir it like this. All right, this is pretty smooth. It doesn't have to be perfect, because I'm gonna pour it on the hot cake, and that will melt the rest of the little bits of sugar. So also I have nuts, so if there's a little extra texture to it, no one will notice. It'll taste just fine. So mixing in the nuts, and it's ready when my cake is done, which I still have another 30 minutes on, so this will just sit here and wait. Checking on our cake. Looks really nice. It's starting to pull away from the edges a little bit. So I'm gonna check it with just a little wooden toothpick. Still not done in the middle. So we'll leave it another 20 minutes or so. All right, let's check it again. Toothpick comes out clean. That means it's cooked all the way through. All right, the moment of truth. I laid a cake or plate over the top of the cake. Turn it upside down. Will it come out? Ta-da! Doesn't always work that way. Sometimes you get some sticky parts. Now this icing is much better if you put it on when the cake is warm. It'll melt in. And obviously I have way more than I need. But it's hard to get too much icing ever. Okay. Now I'll let it cool enough that we can eat it.